How will you restore faith in our justice system? A lot of people will say, well, he's just going to do to them what they did to him and get back at them. And
a lot of people say that's what should happen. Well, you want to know the truth.
Right. Well, but I think...
Pam Hemphill, great to have you back on. I wanted to check in 20 some days out from the election because you were doing the Lord's work there in Boise, Idaho, right? Correct. Thank you for having me on, Ken. That is, I'll never say enemy territory because America is America and no one's, well, almost no one is the enemy, but I would love your reaction to this answer by Donald Trump when he basically implies that, yeah, he's going to go after his political foes, people like you, should he win re-election. And for those who didn't see your last super viral interview, I think we hit 1 million views. You are a J6 defendant. You did your time in one of the toughest jails in America, but you got out and said, I pled guilty because I was guilty. And these days you're holding a Harris for president sign in Boise, Idaho. Take it away. Yeah, well, Trump thinks he's smart when he says, well, others, so he puts it on other people because he's not going to brave enough to say, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But we know that's what he's going to do. He's already talked about revenge. But the plan is with Michael Flynn, Ivan Racklin, Ammon Bundy, Alex Jones. We can go on with all these names, but I was in a training with Ammon Bundy's People's Rights. And the gentleman that was training it, we were talking about a judge at the time, had said that he should be tried for treason. They put together, it's called the Citizens Grand Jury. And they believe that under the Constitution that it's legal to have our own private grand jury. And so what they've done is gone around Michael Flynn all over the United States with his last video documentary. And they gather these, they call them constitutional sheriffs. You may be familiar with Mark Lamb. He's one of them. And he's in charge of a lot of stuff that's going on right now. And what the sheriff would do is, it's like a posse. They'll go out and deputize people to go arrest them, bring them to the grand jury, and try them for treason. And we know what the punishment for treason is. And that's their plan. And now Ammon Bundy has come out full. I have several videos, recent videos, that they're talking about, and like Trump does, that this is the plan. And it's very frightening. It's very scary. I'm sure the authorities are on this probably and know more going on than I do, but they have People's Rights right now. Ammon Bundy has over 87,000 members, and it's growing more and more. So I think the likelihood of them trying to pull this stunt, especially you hear Ivan Racklin all the time talking about it. Yes, Trump is going to do revenge. Well, this isn't an isolated phenomenon. I know you were very much tapped into what was happening out west with Ammon Bundy and others, but we had this story recently in Ohio in the wake of this Springfield, they're eating cats, they're eating pets lie. You had an Ohio sheriff who, I'm going to call him a vigilante sheriff. I think that's an oxymoron, but I think people will get the point, who said we need to start recording the addresses of people with Harris signs in their yards so that we can, who knows what. The implication is go after them after the election is over. That is a officer of the law. That is a sheriff who is issuing that kind of threat in the run-up to an election. And similar with the other sheriff that I don't know what, it was in North Dakota. I just watched him last night saying the same thing, very similar. So yeah, there's a lot of, they call them constitutional sheriffs, and they're ready. I'm suspecting something could happen before the election. The way they're talking, I'm a little confused what's going on. Are they going to wait? But a lot of them say, why wait? Democrats are going to steal this election. So it's kind of frightening. Yeah, we're right on the edge here of another revolt, knowing exactly when, but they're serious. They're desperate. They really believe the Democrats are turning this into a communist country. So they're willing and ready right now to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, if there is a silver lining, and it's tough to find one, but if there is a silver lining, it's the realization that they are desperate. They are panicking because they know they're losing. This is not to suggest we need to be complacent about the vote. Everybody needs to get out there and vote. And I'm going to ask you about your signs in Boise in a second. But everybody from Boise to Cleveland, where I am from, needs to get out and vote. But the MAGA-verse seems to be finally realizing that they're on the losing side of history. And their hedge, their backup plan, appears to be resorting potentially to violence. I'm going to play this quick clip, just one more in a litany of examples of Trump celebrating, fetishizing violence. Here he is at a campaign rally saying any Harris supporter better not identify themselves or they'll be hurt.
Is there anybody here that's going to vote for Lion Kamala? Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. Actually, I should say don't raise your hand. It would be very dangerous. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. Please don't raise your hand.
That's what we're up against, Pam. We're up against a political movement that now celebrates attacks or makes light of or turns into a joke attacks against their political opponents.
Exactly. They're not really thinking that they're going to lose this election. When you hear both sides of the Democrats and the Republicans, they sound identical. I was just reading some comments and I thought, this sounds like the Democrats. They're both. However, we have the receipts. We have Project 2025 that shows that they want to turn this into a fascist country. But they're so desperate. They really believe that the DOJ is weaponized right now and that they have to do something to stop the tyrannical, whatever they want to call it, the deep state, the DOJ, coming after Trump and everybody else. So they're in a delusion right now. And so that's why they tell themselves it's not that they believe they're going to lose. They just believe that the Democrats are going to steal this election somehow. And we know it's just the opposite. He could win. He won't win the popular vote, but he may win the electoral vote because he'll cheat or do something. And they're scaring you. People to even go to the voting polls. That might be one of their tactics. Stand out there with their ARs. It's like, okay, anything to intimidate us. And that's what's frightening is the Republicans. And I don't mean to put all Republicans in the same box because we know we have a lot of great Republicans out there. But they're even encouraging this violence or intimidation to save our country. And that's what's frightening.
It's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break here to remind everyone, if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast version of this show, please do. The link is below. And don't forget to rate and review. It makes a huge difference in how the algorithm ranks shows. Thanks for the support. We just had retired Navy Commander Bobby Jones back on the show who talked about just that and the Republican tactic of recruiting these extremists to show up at polling places with body armor and weapons, supposedly to watch the vote as poll watchers. But there's a reason they show up looking like that in minority communities across the country, especially in swing states. And it's voter intimidation, pure and simple, just like these communities experienced after the Civil War. I think the parallels cannot be ignored. You referenced the weaponization of the DOJ, and if anyone has authority to speak on this and what a lie that is, it's you. Can you remind our audience what you went through and how you experienced this transformation as an American citizen, as an educated voter, realizing that you had been lied to?
Well, it first started when I was seeing my therapist because it was very traumatizing that day. And he kept saying to me, Pam, you're not a victim. You had a choice that day because of the gaslighting. It's our house. You have the right.
That day being January 6th. You were there.
Yeah. And I'm telling people, come on in. It's your house. That programming from Ammon Bundy, that the government is overreaching and we have a right to stand up when it's our duty, put into your brain. You really believe you're fighting people that want to turn this into a communist country. So my therapist was right. I had a choice that day. Nobody held my hands back and said, you're going to go up to the Capitol and stand in the front door. Now, my intent was not to break any law, of course, but I did. It doesn't take away from the fact that I broke the law. It was trespassing. You cannot go inside the Capitol. That day it was locked down to the public. Besides it being our house. I mean, that's kind of crazy. All the capitals have rules and regulations that they abide by.
Yeah. You've referred a couple of times to this idea on the far right that Democrats are turning America into a communist country. At the same time, the stock market is hitting all-time highs. Investments in private industry and manufacturing are through the roof. I don't know how we fight that kind of misinformation, disinformation with actual facts, but the facts are on our side, as you've said. We have the receipts. We just need to keep reading them between now and November.
Well, if you notice, I've read that book behind me. They don't care about facts. Trump has them in their pocket to believe anything he's saying. It will get worse. It's going to get worse and worse what Trump's going to put out there as far as lies. He doesn't care. The lies are working for the MAGA. But people need to wrap that around their head. They don't want to hear your facts because all your facts are lies. It doesn't matter what you put in front of them, how you show the proof. They don't care. Somehow we're lying. So forget about trying to help MAGA right now. Just as long as you know the facts and you share that. And I think it's important to be a little more assertive with these MAGAs and say, you're voting for a dangerous, dangerous narcissist. This man is going to turn this country into something you will not recognize. He is going to take away your rights. You've got to be a little more assertive with them and just confront them like I'm doing on the corner right now. Tell them what they...
I want to ask you about that because I find it so inspiring. The last time we talked, you had a couple of visitors. You're holding up a Harris Wall sign in one of the most conservative state capitals in the nation. How has the response been since we last talked?
Oh, it's wonderful. So many people are going by saying, thank you so much for your service. Harris, some want to take a picture with me. But the other day, this lady drove up. She was on a red light. She says, you've been listening to fake news. I was like, what? And she's giving me the middle finger. And I said, yes, I was listening to fake news. That's why I went to prison. The election was not stolen. I'm not listening to fake news anymore. And then she speeded up around the corner and just screaming, mad at me. But that's very rare, and it's really surprising. We are getting 2-1. A lot more people excited about her and so happy that I'm out there with the sign and just thanking us. And it's I don't know, explain it. I'm having so much fun. I love it. I can't wait to do it. I'm doing it right now on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but 3 days before the election, I'll be there in a row right before the election. It's fun. I love it.
Great. Well, Pam, we'll send some people by to cheer you on. We've got a montage of photos here. Keep doing what you're doing. You inspire so many of us. Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us, Pam.
Thank you.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.